Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
They got punched in the mouth in Game 1, but the Detroit Pistons reacted in Game 2 with a suffocating win over the Magic. Also, just how sold are the Cardinals on Jeremiyah Love at 3rd overall? And the Flyers are back in the playoffs, and this time they mean business.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
After slipping up in Game 1, the Pistons have regained a bit of control over their first-round matchup with the Orlando Magic. Locked On Pistons host Kuka Hill reacted to Detroit's suffocating defensive performance in Game 2 against Orlando.
Are there any concerns that people should have still about the Pistons? Are there anything, or even not just concerns people should have about the Pistons, are there still things that we should take away from this game that the Pistons need to do better at to close this series out and win convincingly, which I think they can do? But obviously we are going to start. The Detroit Pistons respond in a big way and win Game 2 at home, 98-83. The score makes it seem like it was closer than it was in the second half. The Detroit Pistons absolutely took off on the Orlando Magic in that third quarter behind a, wait for it, 30-3 run. A 30-3 run in the third quarter, energized by their defense. They finally looked like the Detroit Pistons, the 2026 Detroit Pistons. They finally did. And we're going to get even more in-depth with this win. But right off the bat, biggest takeaway, or there's maybe not biggest takeaway, but the first thing I can think of when I look at this game, the Pistons beat the Magic by 15 in this game, and I think they played good for one quarter. They played a good brand of basketball one quarter. All it took was for them to look like the Pistons we've seen this past year for one singular quarter, and they'll take off on the Magic. Imagine what will happen if they can play 4 good quarters at some point. Because the first half, there was some good stuff, but there was also a lot of bad. It was tied at halftime. They had only scored 47 points in that first half. It wasn't a great first half at all. And it was like, man, they're a half away from they're going to have to play a good half to avoid some disaster class conversations after this game. And all it took was for them to realize one quarter, that third quarter, we're the Pistons from this past year. We are one of the best defenses people have seen in years, and people are going to find out. Let's go ahead and turn it on. We got to lock in here. And they absolutely did that in the third quarter, and they took off on the Orlando Magic. Obviously, we got to talk about Cade Cunningham, who I think this game Cade just played was a better game than the one he played in the first game. Because a lot of his impact in that first game that they lost was in the second half. First half, I thought Cade was flat out bad in that first half. A lot of turnovers, tough shots, wasn't getting clean looks, was not nearly as good defensively. That first half, I did not think Cade played well. Now, in that second half, there was a stretch where I said, I feel like there was like a 7 to 9 minute stretch where he was looking like the best player in the world kind of stuff. But that was just for that stretch. This game, I think he was excellent from start to finish. Not only on the offensive end, he had 27 points on 11 assists, 6 rebounds on 11 of 19 shooting. He was very efficient in this game, 59.9 true shooting percentage. Missed 4 free throws. I don't know what's up with that. But played a very good game offensively. Was dissecting the Magic half-court defense, especially in the second half. Was creating open shots. Got Duren going in that third quarter. Got him a few easy looks underneath the basket to get his confidence going. He was fantastic, obviously, offensively. But defensively, he was completely locked in from the first defensive possession. The very first defensive possession, Cade is getting physical with Franz. Cade is fighting over screens hard. He had a few rim protection reps that were absolutely fantastic. One in transition, one on a fast break denying Paolo at the rim. They didn't give him a block for it, but I think that he should. Actually, they did. They changed it. They gave him a block tonight. Oh, the stats have come. Okay, so they update all the stats. I was wondering, because earlier I was looking at the block stats, and I was like, why are the Pistons, it says, I know they had 6 blocks in one quarter. Why does it say that Wu's the only one with blocks? I think the stats were just obviously messing up. But yeah, he had a few really good rim protection reps. Now, he did turn the ball over a little bit too much. A lot of those came, I'd say a few of those came in the second half when the game was kind of just out of hand and the Magic threw a random press at him. He turned the ball over a few times. They can definitely clean stuff up. Don't get confused. We'll talk about that coming up. But I thought Cade was excellent from start to finish, not just on the offensive end of the floor, but absolutely was helping set the tone defensively. Then, the next player we have to shout out. How about Asar freaking Thompson, man? It is as simple as just play him minutes. Just play him. What he did in that third quarter defensively, it's absolutely historic, all-time defender type of stuff. He was all over the place defensively in that quarter. He was, at one point, guarding Bane. Then he would guard Suggs. Then Franz started to get to the basket a few times on his matchup. Now the Pistons switched him on to Franz. Now Franz isn't getting there. He was all over the place in the passing lanes. He had multiple crazy good rotations, doubling down on somebody. There was one play, there was like 3 seconds on the shot clock. He knows that Paolo's back is turned to the basket. And instead of staying home, he knows that there's not so much time on the clock. So instead, he's going to run to Paolo, force a pass out, show his hands, be frantic. Paolo doesn't know where to go. Now it's a shot clock violation. Just those kind of things that just win the Pistons possessions, get them extra possessions, whether it's a steal, whether it's forcing a shot clock violation where they don't even get a shot up. He is an absolute all-world defender, just all-world defender.
Stay up to date all year on the Detroit Pistons by subscribing to Locked On Pistons, wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Your Locked On Sports today. Coming up is Jeremiyah Love, a lock to go at number 3. Before we get to that, the Thunder are destroying, dismantling, and embarrassing the Suns. The NBA playoffs are here, where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. You can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters. When you're looking at stars, role players, and key moments, it just makes the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. Thunder's death march through the playoffs has only just begun, and the Suns are but their first victim.
The Oklahoma City Thunder get a Game 2 win over the Phoenix Suns, starting out 2-0 in the first-round series. The Thunder, under Mark, still have not lost a first-round game yet, but that might change in Game 3 if Jalen Williams can't play. J-Dub, who was sensational in this game to start, who was the best player on the court in Game 1, he comes up lame again, favoring this time the left hamstring in this contest. He did not return after initially being ruled as questionable. If J-Dub is out for any length of time, that is obviously detrimental to the Thunder's title hopes. We'll see what that verdict is in the coming days for J-Dub's hamstring injury. That's the biggest story coming out of this otherwise mundane Game 2. Oklahoma City got up big in the second half, let the foot off the gas a bit, failed to execute down the stretch to allow the Suns to make it a 10-point game. But the story of this game is the same as the series. The Thunder kept Phoenix at arm's distance the rest of the way and pulled out this win. SGA really got going after a 1-for-5 start to the contest, and he was huge. A.J. Mitchell filled in pretty well for J-Dub down the stretch of this game, playing that role to start the fourth quarter. And alongside Shea at the end, he's been someone who's stepped up along the season, with J-Dub only playing in 33 regular season games. But the Thunder do have experience playing without J-Dub, and it's not title good enough, I don't think, without their number 2 scoring option. Not a hot take there, but we have more on Locked On Thunder.
Over on the diamond, the Braves took a fun series over the Nats.
The Atlanta Braves win a wild one in Washington 8-6 on Wednesday night to at least guarantee themselves a split of this 4-game series. A rough start for Fuentes, really just a rough first inning. Big at bat there against Dylan Lau that I think changed the entire complexity of that outing for him. Went with the fastball for a 4th straight time, and Lyle was on time with it, hitting a big 3-run home run. Braves fell behind 4-1 in this game, but the offense went to work, led by Michael Harris, who hit 2 home runs on the night. Matt Olson with a big home run late as well to pad the lead, and the Braves held on for an 8-6 win. But they had to use Martin Perez in this one, which means we'll have a new starter for Thursday, and it'll be J.R. Ritchie making his major league debut. So cannot wait to see him get to pitch and see what he can do in this Braves rotation. But overall, like I said, it was a game where the offense had to win it for you, and they absolutely did. You love to see that, picking up the pitching staff. But a lot of innings out of the Braves bullpen in this one. So hopefully Richie can come up and give them some innings on Thursday and help the Braves get a series win in Washington.
The Cubs pushed their win streak to 8 after toppling the Phillies.
8 in a row for the first time since 2023. I'm Sam Olver from the Locked On Cubs podcast. Cubs defeat the Phillies tonight, and it was about the guys who had been struggling. Seiya Suzuki homers in back-to-back games after he'd struggled for a bit. 3-hit day for Pete, who had been struggling, and Michael Busch gets his first home run of the season off Taijuan Walker. Great to see for him. Hopefully that can get his confidence going and he can start swinging a better bat. Matthew Boyd returned today. He was okay. 4 2/3, but it was about Ben Brown relieving him, Corbin Martin, Hobie Milner. These guys continue to hold it down while the Cubs are really suffering from a lot of pitcher injuries. But 8 in a row, how quickly things change. Feels like it was just, I don't know, a couple days ago, the Cubs were 7-9, and you had this daunting stretch with the Phillies, the Mets, the Phillies, the Dodgers, and the Padres, and the Cubs have put together their longest winning streak in 3 years against some teams that are really struggling right now but are pretty tough on paper, and they go for number 9 tomorrow, Wrigley Field, 1:20, Edward Cabrera on the bump.
There's a chance we see some shakeup in the NFL draft later this evening. There's a good chance this is all going to be shook up like a snow globe. Locked On NFL host Tyler Rowland explains how the Cardinals are courting running back Jeremiyah Love at number 3, but Arizona might end up looking elsewhere by the time their name is on the clock.
We get to number 3. I don't envy your position here. There's late buzz for Jeremiyah Love. Is it real? Is it smoke? Offensive line is what people thought for a while, but now David Bailey is on the board, and they could use another pass rusher, but they have put a lot of resources lately with Josh Sweat, Walter Nolan, Darius Robinson, a lot of resources going into that defensive line. What's the pick at number 3?
All right, I'm deciding on the fly here to do a trade back. Okay. Now, I think the Cardinals might have a little bit of a hard time finding a trade back partner, but I do think they very much want to trade back. Now, when I thought Arvel Reese might fall to 3, I was going to keep the Cardinals there. They could go with Arvel Reese. They could definitely use that edge. It'd be great. David Bailey, though, I think they'd be willing to still move back, miss out on him for now. So I'm going to have them move back with the Chiefs. And the Chiefs are going to move up from number 9 to number 3. They're going to give up their 40th overall pick that they have from that L'Jarius Sneed pick still from the Titans. And then the Cardinals can probably throw back one of their later round picks too. Something along that way, right? So they're moving back to number 9.
143, something like that.
So I have the Chiefs moving up to 3, and they're taking the top tackle on the board. Francis, I can't say names.
I've heard Maui Noah. I've heard Mauigoa. I think it's Noah.
Yeah, I think it's Maui Noah. Yeah. So they're going to move up, take the top tackle on the board and get their guy, and a big, huge need there for the Chiefs.
Okay. Usually when you see the Chiefs trading up, people are thinking about them maybe getting David Bailey, getting the edge rusher. You're taking the top tackle on the board. I like that kind of move. We get to the Tennessee Titans, and I think that this would be an ideal situation for the Titans. I think that they might be able to get a trade back with Jeremiyah Love, Sonny Styles, David Bailey, all still on the board. But I think if David Bailey is on the board for the Tennessee Titans, that they're going to go ahead and take him. Robert Saleh has always had a love for that wide 9 long pass rusher. And you look at the Titans right now, they traded for Jermaine Johnson. They have last year's 2nd-round pick, Femi Oladipo, who's a work in progress as a former college linebacker. Both those guys are more power rushers. Other than that, they have John Franklin Myers, who they signed in free agency. Of course, Jeffrey Simmons. But Jacob Martin, the 30-year-old journeyman, is the only true speed rusher. Their best speed rusher is a 30-year-old guy whose career high is 5.5 sacks. I think that David Bailey has some question marks, but I think the Tennessee Titans would sprint to the podium to get David Bailey. I know the Jeremiyah Love connection is there, but there are concerns with running back. Mike Borgonzi, the Titans general manager, came from Kansas City, where they have historically neglected the running back position and not wanted to put big resources into it. I don't buy the Sonny Styles smoke. Give me David Bailey for the Titans at number 4.
Would you be pumped with that pick as a Titans fan?
I have a few outcomes. I do my hype, happy, and hate tiers for first-round options, and taking an edge rusher, whether it's Reese, Bailey, or Bain, is the only player picks they could make that would have me hype. I really want the Titans to get a trade back in this draft class, especially if they can get a 2027 first-round pick with how good that draft's supposed to be. I don't think that that's going to be possible. So one of the edge rushers, yes, that would be the optimal outcome for the Titans if they stick and pick in my mind. I don't think Titans fans agree with me, though. I think most Titans fans would be absolutely enraged that they didn't take Jeremiyah Love. If you were me at 4, would you have taken Love or would you have gone with the edge?
As a fan, I don't think Jeremiyah Love's going to change your winning record all that much. No, I also don't think David Bailey will either. It's all really going to come down to Cam Ward and getting him those weapons. And I maybe that be wide receiver, maybe running back does help him out, right? It's all going to come down to Cam Ward at the end of the day. But I would be fine with them going with edge instead of Jeremiyah Love. I will say, though, that makes my number 5 way harder because I was not expecting Love to be there. I thought you were going to take him.
Well, that's going to make an interesting decision for the New York Giants if this is the way the board falls. The first 4 picks in the draft, we have Fernando Mendoza, Arvell Reese to the Jets. The Chiefs trade up for Francis Malinois at 3, and David Bailey goes number 4 to the Tennessee Titans. Love, Styles, Bain, Downs, all still on the board for Michelle as she takes over for the New York Football Giants now.
Stay up to date all year on the NFL Draft by subscribing to Locked On NFL and Locked On NFL Draft on your favorite podcast app. Coming up, the Flyers have made a feisty return to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Philadelphia Flyers are back in the Stanley Cup playoffs for the first time in 4 seasons, and they are manhandling the competition. Locked On Flyers host Rachel Donner and Russ Cohn broke down another physically dominant game from Philly.
Yeah, I mean, it was really memorable. It was interesting because with the Flyers down 1-0, like we all kind of acknowledged, hey, Pittsburgh played a much better game and they deserved to be up 1-0. And it was like the fans, the team, they were waiting for that moment to kind of break through, and that Zegras goal kind of did it. And that started to shift. You know, that started to make the big shift, that power play goal, which again, I should say, because they're rare. And so, yeah, that was, the place erupted, and it got crazy after that. It did.
I mean, it was crazy before that. Let's be clear.
But it got crazier.
Yeah. Just in terms of the intensity, I'm sure. But and you could definitely hear the crowd chants over the broadcast a lot more after that.
Well, what about they had to have edited some of them because
probably.
Yeah.
I'm sure
there was a lot of cursing.
I'm sure there was. But I think, we have to start with the absolute chaos of the second period, right? That led up to the power play that created the Zegras goal, right? So, where the penalty box were completely overstuffed and there was overstuffed. Standing room only, as the Flyers social media so aptly put it. But I think, for me, I was a little nervous about all of that just because I didn't want the game to get out of hand to the point where people actually got hurt, right? Because as we've said with this series, there's a fun kind of chaos and intensity, and then there's a line where people get hurt, and we don't want that. And I think this skirted that line a little bit, but I do think it was part of the energy of this series. That is for sure.
It was. I mean, honestly, I felt like in the first period, the Penguins were dragging the Flyers into the gutter. And when Crosby was in the box for the embellishment, which he said he didn't think was just, Konechny was stalking him from the outside. And I think Crosby was just as much to blame on that, maybe even more than Konechny, because I think he was saying stuff that we don't know, right? And so, but Crosby's take was this game got out of control, and that's what they wanted us to do. And it's I don't buy that, because I think Pittsburgh wanted it, but then it got to be too much for them.
Yeah,
and I think that was
more than they could chew.
Correct, and I think that was a part of it. What's kind of amazing, though, and you take things for granted. So Lou Nolan, he said something funny. He was just when he was saying the penalties and he said, I think, we all kind of laughed. And so when I was leaving the Flyers locker room, I saw Lou and I asked him and I said, hey, by the way, that was great when you said, I think. And he goes, honestly, the only thing he knew about was the double minor for sure, because after speaking to an off-ice official before I left the building, there's no direct line to Lou. Lou doesn't get any kind of information from them. He just winged it. And the off-ice official was amazed that he got it right because he was listening for it. And I honestly, with everything going on, I didn't know if he got it right or not, but he did. And it's just, he's a legend for doing that because they were switching players in and out. I don't know how he did it, honestly.
That is absolutely incredible. Like what a legend, Lou Nolan.
He really is.
The fact that he just figured it out based on the calls that were happening on the ice with the official and got the notes down. As somebody who has sat next to PA announcers at professional hockey games as the game ops director, and had to feed information to PA announcers, it is hard to do in the moment when there's multiple penalties. Yeah. I have been there on the ground for it. And for him to have done that, what a remarkable thing.
And that was truly chaotic. And honestly, I took a bathroom break after they were trying to figure it out because it took so long.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was absolutely a turning point in the game, though.
It was.
Without question, because
but you didn't know, like you said, to be fair, when it was happening, you didn't know which way it was going to go.
Right. And I do think that, there were obviously some moments after that where the Flyers got baited into things or took some bad penalties.
Yes.
Especially in the third period, that Mitchkov penalty in particular. Yeah. I think the Couturier penalty wasn't great either. But I do think that for the most part, the Flyers knew how to toe that line for the rest of the game.
I think so. But like Nick Seeler's, we got to tone it down a bit. Mm-hmm. What was interesting, too, Brian Rust was asked point blank about the Konechny thing. And after the takedown, he said Konechny tried to kick him, and that's when he lost it. And the one thing I'll tell you about Rust is he's a pretty honest guy. And so I don't doubt that some of that happened. But again, it's one of those things where everybody kind of lit the fuse. And so,
who's to say who started anything?
Oh, no, I don't know who started it at all.
Right.
So I do think there was some truth there. I'm just saying once the fuse was lit, anything could happen.
And finally, thank goodness, it's finally over. The New York Mets snapped their horrendous 12-game losing streak. And of course, it came with the catch. Francisco Lindor exited early with calf tightness after scoring a run because apparently nothing for the Mets can just be simple right now. They get the win, but potentially lose their shortstop, all while trying to climb out of a brutal stretch. It is the most Mets thing possible. Progress, just a little bit of progress, immediately followed by a new problem. Coming up, what surprises are in store during the first round of the NFL draft? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.